So let me introduce Arianna Piva, Director of Design at Metro Gamma, Andrea Caputo, founder of andreacaputo.com, Michele Montevichi, Development Manager at NHOOD, and the trio will present a very inspiring project, the LOC Loreto Open Community, who really combines this principle and demonstrate in the most brilliant way how cities can create new places for people when spaces are reclaimed from private vehicles. Arianna, Andrea, and Michele, the floor is all yours.
Arianna?
Thank you, Elena. I don't know if Arianna wants to introduce the project. Otherwise, I can start as you like.
Go first, Andrea. That's your turn.
Okay. Well, the competition has been very exciting from any point of view, not just from the result, but also if we relate this to the pandemic, it really touches the momentum of what happened, because it started before the pandemic was a concern in Europe, in the sense that we were aware about Asia, but at the end, even the word lockdown was not really, let's say, our issue back then. And so in the rollout of the competition, everything happened actually, and we were also organizing the competition according to the consequence of it, transforming the work in the office from the office to the calls that we're doing right now. So it was really, let's say, approaching the consequences of what happened. And but I would say that during the phase one, which was the phase related to our concept, we were already considering the public space and the space of Loreto as an opportunity to generate a different approach in the relationship between people and the open space. So today, Loreto is actually an approachable space for humans. It belongs really to cars, and this is a situation since decades. So it's actually an area where you run away from. You just cross it by car, but at the end, it's really difficult to engage any sort of, let's say, activity in that location. So, of course, it was all a matter about transforming this space into something related to humans, but again, not in a way of having a transit of people instead of cars, but aiming to have people staying in Piazza Loreto. And so to really trick the imagination of residents and people from Milano for a new type of square, a new type of public space, which it's actually a public domain, possibly, not a public space, a place where you just don't want to stay, but where you also aim to have several young or not young communities of people staying there and living the space, improvising sport activities or urban activities. So we came out with this idea of digging the ground and revealing what is actually the subway level is, and to really, let's say, develop a new sense of space, which is quite different from the flat horizontal conventional square that we all know. And so, as Arianna will explain, there's a fragmentation of this space into something which is possibly unexpected. And the idea of fragmenting the square into a multi-layer plaza comes from the fact that it's all about occupying that public space as we are looking, at least in Milano, but I guess everywhere after pandemic. In Milano, there was this side effect with the terraces and the doors. The city was never lived outside. The outdoor, also for the climate condition, was always a bit, let's say, a space to stay just in few part of the year. But now it's really cross season for a consequence really related to the presence of Dior and elements which are occupying the public space. But in our project, we exactly approached the opposite, in the sense that we wanted to build an ideal indoor space facing the new square in a sort of extension of it. So, and this happened strategically, as I said, before the pandemic, because we really wanted to create a sort of invisible boundary in between in and out, indoor and outdoor. And we were just, let's say, more convinced in phase 2, when the pandemic was hitting strongly Europe and the world, thinking that the protection and the shelter that we aim to build is exactly the direction that we like to take, and in a way that the building and the square becomes very much, let's say, smooth transition between the idea of living inside and the city outside of it. So I would leave Arianna describing in detail all the intervention that we made. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Hello, that's Arianna from Metrogramma. So as Andrea anticipated, this project, Loreto Open Community, deals a lot with the public space enhancement, but I would like to say more. I would like to say that this project is a project about people, and in fact, you can see it from the master plan here. The idea is to bring people in Loreto from everywhere they are, and this is pretty a revolutionary idea if we think about how Loreto is lived today. It is kind of a leftover space, a crossroad that no one wants to walk through. No one can walk through or pass through by bike. So the idea was the enhancement, as we said, of public space. We can see it in this slide here. Let's say exploding the idea of the square, enhancing this idea of public space in a multi-level approach. So we managed to multiply this space and to offer unexpected, let's say, situation for public usage. And this is pretty interesting when we talk about the features that this public space wanted to have. We can see it in next slide. This is something that really matches with the requests of post-pandemic experience. In fact, we have, let's say, at the same time, an increasing demand for usage of open space. People experiences open areas as a natural extension of their houses, but at the same time, people is afraid about a very crowded situation. So we are living in this kind of dualism in which becomes quite of really tricky planning urban spacing. So we like to think about this idea of a public comfort zone, an area in which we can grant, let's say, a welcoming space. So the name we chose for the project, Loreto Open Community, is pretty representative of the main concept of the project itself. Loreto is the first word. We want this place to be an identitary place. We want people to say, I'm coming back home to Loreto. That is, as I said, pretty unusual in Milan, if you think about Loreto today. And then, next slide, please. We want Loreto to be open. So, as I said, focus, of course, on the openness of the space. Focus on this, let's say, green, permeable, accessible space. We decided to embrace some policies such as forestry, and decided to give our contribution to projects such as Forestami in Milan, including Loreto Open Community in a web of urban forestry. And finally, community. This is definitely a key word for us. We want people to take place in Loreto community. This is totally, we were designing a complete neighborhood in which there are activities that are suggested by the environment itself, by the activities that take place in the new building, but at the same time is the public space welcoming people to suggest and to suggest spontaneous activities and to propose bottom-up usage of the space. So that's why we like to think about Loreto Open Community more about, let's say, a process, a participative process, than about the mere design of a place. I'll give the word to Michele about this point.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Yes, as a developer, as an investor, we are aware that public spaces, quality public spaces, are increasing the value of private function. So that it's very important for us to manage real estate process, or specifically public function, being approached as a service. Real estate for us is a service, it's not just a job. That's why before starting any kind of development project, we start what we call listening to the territory, which means that we get in touch with citizens, with city users, with local association and all the stakeholders, in order to exchange, in order to understand which are their needs, their expectation, their potential tricky issue that can influence our project. And we work together with them in a participative process in order to build together which will be the function to be placed into the project, so that to be really a developer which is a service to the citizen, to the neighborhood, in order to really create quality public spaces and quality public functions. Thank you very much.